up, everybody, and welcome to the J and K Show. I'm your host, J Rob, and I'm joined alongside by my brother, K. What's good, bro?
Yo. What's good, man?
I'm good. It's too damn cold out for May.
Yeah.
That's not good.
no, that's not good. I feel like I want my money back, man.
I know what I'm saying?
I got ripped off. Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So it's all good though. But we gonna get to the stories of the week as we always rock out.
Right.
We got some hot stories to cover. We're gonna get your take, which is always the wrong take, and my take, which is the right take. But we're gonna debate it, and we gotta get Doc in here too to weigh in. So, there's an interesting story that I saw this week, and I want to get into a serious conversation about, because I think this is a very important topic.
Right.
Education is for the children. We're going to talk about the children today, okay? And is education still important? I think it is. Some people don't. This is all stemming from recent comments that Kourtney Kardashian made on her sister Khloe's podcast. And she seems to think that the education system today is outdated. And she doesn't feel that schooling and education or sending children to school is important anymore. She feels like it's outdated. It doesn't make any sense. She doesn't understand. Now, she's in for homeschooling, but the traditional way of when you and I went to school back in the dinosaur ages, it's done. It serves no purpose. Now, she's been getting a little flack online saying, people need to go to school and children need to go to school. That's important. Keep the traditional ways up and stuff like that. But she doesn't feel like it serves its purpose anymore. So I want to get your take, Kay, on, do you think that it still serves a purpose, or do you feel like it's outdated to send our children who needs an education and a proper one? Well, do you still think it's important today or not?
Yeah, I think there's a sweet spot in between both of those, right? Mm-hmm. So no argument for me that we probably, there's probably time to kind of update the way that children learn and how we're teaching them. At the same time, I don't think we should get rid of it altogether. Mm-hmm. This, to me, also feels like another one of those opportunities for the elite to be totally tone deaf, right? What say?
Is that what you're seeing here?
Well, yeah, I am seeing that. You've got someone with tremendous amount of resources that can maybe homeschool, that can sit at home, their children be at home and still get an incredibly good education, versus the parents that have to work, where you have those latchkey kids who are coming home to an empty place because they're in school all day. I think we just kind of forget all of that. So I don't think you get rid of all the school systems, but I think there's probably an opportunity to update what we learn, how we learn. We see some of that, right? Mm-hmm. With kids and the way they learn math versus how we did it. Children don't do penmanship anymore, right? Mm-hmm. They're not being taught penmanship.
Right.
So certainly the curriculum has changed. But the notion that you're going to get rid of all of it, I mean, stop it. And then finally, the last thing, if you are a Kardashian, and I'm not really trying to take a shot because I like the Kardashians.
Yeah.
Unlike the way a lot of folks...
Great business minds.
Unlike the way a lot of folks feel about them.
Yeah.
But their life would suggest that they would say some shit like this. Okay. Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
They've really made an industry out of nothing, which didn't take any education, which didn't take any formal training, which didn't take anything other than saying, hey, I'm here. So if you've come up that way and you're looking at the world through that lens, yeah, I guess it does make sense to you to say, well, why are we even talking about schools? Let's get rid of schools. I didn't need it, right? But the thing about it is, that is such a small, tiny little microcosm of how the world works for a very small group of people. Mm-hmm. The masses of us need school. It's useful. It should be there. But I do think with that being said, we should take a closer look on how we teach our children.
Yeah, and listen, they came up, as far as I know, going to school. So it is interesting how she's seeing that today, because I don't believe she was homeschooled. She went to school and they got a good education. I could see, to your point, there are some positives to homeschooling, right? So she's not necessarily that she's saying that she doesn't believe in schooling anymore. She just doesn't believe in sending kids to school, like, per se. Now, I could see, as we all know, and I'm always complaining about this gun violence and all of that, you sending your children today to school today in 2025, and you're losing your children are dying at the hands of gun violence, which is ridiculous, which is never ever gonna end. So to that point, I could see where the parents of today want to keep their children safe and just damn alive, right? You know, can they be homeschooled? Yeah. Yeah, they can. I just don't know I don't know. Can you just homeschool your children? I believe that there's courses that you have to take to be able to homeschool your children. It's a lot of work you have to do. Now, maybe with the Kardashians, obviously, money is not an issue, right? So they can hire all these homeschool. Now, I don't know if Kourtney was saying that she herself would do the homeschooling of her children, or she think that's the best if she would do it, or if they would just hire a teacher. She's probably just talking about hiring a teacher to come in and do that. And you know, honestly, I think that's actually way safer. If she hires a qualified person, if all parents hired a qualified person to come in and teach them, their children, the academics and education, I could see how that is a good thing, especially versus whether they go to school and they don't end up coming home because they got shot and they lost their life. That's a possibility. It's a reality today. So I could see that's a very positive thing.
So you've kind of said something that makes me look like the bad guy to counter that. Of course, Jay. Of course you would rather have the safety of your loved one versus, at home going to school versus going to school or going anywhere for that matter and regretfully being unalived while at school. Mm-hmm. However, it's interesting that you would take you would take an incident that is so rare, thank heavens, and so far few in between, by the percentages. Excuse me.
Okay,
by the
that happens a lot.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Based off the percentages, man, there are millions of children going to school every single day. There are 1 million kids in the public school system in just New York City alone. Mm-hmm. And that's just one city in one state. And so the idea of, and it's a tragedy no matter when it happened, if just one child that happens to, mm-hmm. right? But the idea of now, in my opinion, mm-hmm. changing the entire system to where there's schooling is occurring in the home on the off chance that some random bad actor may do something, to me, it's beyond even comprehension. I think what we do in terms of fortifying our schools and putting children in safer situations and how we react to this crisis training, more crisis management, is the key. Not to remove children from school and now put them at home. That to me sounds like an overcorrection, and just sounds asinine. But I'm the one thing I will say though. But I'm not surprised that you feel that way, quite honestly, about school overall. Just because schools have a tremendously bad rap, and some of it is justifiable, with some of the union contracts where you have underperforming teachers that you cannot get out of the system, where the Department of Education on the federal level, people still wonder where all the money goes. They're not impacting policy down at the state level. So it's, what is this even here for? So from that standpoint, I agree. I quite honestly thought you were going to go there more so than what the path that you took. So I do agree that there's some changes need to be done, and therefore I do agree with the Kardashians, with Kourtney, that something should be done. But I think the idea of taking all the children out of schools and teaching them at home, I think that's just an overcorrection.
Right. So you don't believe? Yeah. No. To your point, it's right too, because there's a lot of teachers that are in school too. Today, they're not qualified. They really don't care that much. They're not getting the best education that they would at home. Well, whether they're being homeschooled by the parent or by someone that they bring in, a teacher and educate. I think I've just seen so many school shootings, and it's sad. So I just brought that up in that case. But also, I see the point where it's just you might get better education. I know when I was in smaller classes, and when I went to my 2-year, let's say even College of State, when it was a smaller school, you get more. I think you get more attention when you're in a smaller school, and when you're at home, you get the best of attention. You see a lot of these celebrities out there that was homeschooled, and you always see the reports that they was a straight A student, and a lot of times I question myself. Were they really straight A students? I mean, you hear that all the time, how these celebrity kids are straight A students and they were homeschooled. And maybe it's true, because I do see the advantages of, schooling them at home because of that. The only pushback I would say on the other side is, you have to be able to interact and intermingle with people in general. I feel if you're homeschooled, you're just stuck in the house with your siblings, maybe your parent, or just the home teacher, and you're not really, meshing with society and intermingling and commingling with different children. And I think that's very important, and I think that's something that you would lose if you just did the homeschooling,
Yeah. And the other thing I would say, I think society had a sample of that during COVID.
Yeah.
When schools were closed and all of these children were home, and it was trying to do this distance learning.
Yeah.
It was an absolute failure, colossal failure. Parents were ready to set their children ablaze. You hear me?
Right.
It just, there were tons of memes and funny videos and things where, so for one, what we all realized and recognized that children just act different at home versus when they're in school.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It's a totally different experience. And it makes sense because even adults working from home versus going into an office, you have to have a different level of discipline.
You do.
Right? To work at home, right? Because before you know it, you're sitting there still looking at highlights from SportsCenter. It's 10:30. You're supposed to start at 10 o'clock.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, let me get to work.
Yes.
You run over, grab your mouse, move it on your keypad a little bit just so they see that you're in green stat. Right. All kind of stuff. So if an adult is struggling with that, you can't knock a small child.
True.
Right? So I think we did have a glimpse of that, and I think I speak for parents all over the world. They're like, hell no, I don't want to go back to those days.
Oh, no way.
That homeschooling, send their little butts to school, man.
Right, but to your point, you're right. Even bringing up COVID, that's another advantage of them being homeschooled at home. They don't got to go up into that school and bring back all that COVID, cough, flu, influenza.
But it ain't enough to close the school, man.
Nah. She's not talking about closing the school. She just thinks it's outdated sending them to school. And since you and I are not parents, the only parent in this room, I'd like to get Doc's take on it. What do you think about children and whether you think that they should be sent to school or thinking that's outdated versus homeschooling them now? What's your take on it as being the only parent here?
They gotta go.
They
have to go in. I say that to say because when they were home, when I had to do some of their, say, math, the way I learned and what they were learning was different. So I had to Google everything to even help them do their math homework. So the teacher was way more equipped to do that than I was. So just on that alone, I say they got to go into school. I like Kay said, I wouldn't say cut it out altogether, but there definitely needs to be some revamping on how they learn. But no, they can't stay home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you 100% because that's it. I remember when my parents were trying to, because my parents from Kingston, Jamaica, and I remember they was trying to, I got my lessons taken home, and my teachers was saying, well, you got to do the math problems this way. And my parents was looking at my homework like, what in the hell is this shit? I'm like, I don't know what they're teaching me because I don't know what. And I kind of felt bad for them, and they felt bad for me because the teachers were teaching me this certain way. They knew it this certain way, and then
Right.
we was all at a loss.
Right,
It was really crazy.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
hey, we'll see what it is. But I do think that money can make you make different decisions in another way. If you have all that money, homeschooling is a little bit easier because you have people on staff. You could bring in and train and all that stuff versus, people who don't have money, like I do, and a lot of us, we don't have that kind of money. We got to send them to school or the time.
Here we go. Always looking for an opportunity.
It's a money thing. A lot of us.
Not for you.
Well, I can't. Well, not for you.
Not
can't
for
talk
you,
about
man.
you. But I'm just saying in general that's how it is. And to Doc's point, yeah, send their asses to school.
Copy that.
All right, man. What we got next, brother?
So every now and then we come across a story where there are no winners, right? People look bad on either side of this. So the ongoing saga of Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese kind of pulled in some more folks. So recently, their teams had a game, and there was a hard file from Caitlin over to Angel, and it was a big blow up and so forth and so on. So this kind of bubbled up, and so Robert Griffin III,
RG3, baby.
Yep, RG3, had, also has a podcast. Well, he made a comment about this black woman, meaning referring to Angel. This black woman hates this white woman, right? And so some people said this optics didn't necessarily look very good, especially because his other half, RG3, is white. So you've got him standing there, black man, with this white woman making a comment about a black woman. So people jumped online and wanted to take RG3 to task. One of those folks was Ryan Clark, who also, for those that don't know, played in the NFL a bunch of years and is also an employee of ESPN and he too has a podcast called The Pivot. So he's got his Pivot podcast. So this is what happened. And so he took shots at RG3 for his comments in suggesting that someone who has a penchant for being with white women should not be speaking ill of black women, right? In summary, right? To which RG3 gave a touche and came back and really checked Ryan, because Ryan, despite the fact that he's got a black wife, has a white baby mama. And so he came back at him saying, oh, so you're questioning me, and I'm paraphrasing, folks.
Yes, right.
Questioning me about my affection for my partner who happens to be white when you were playing with the other team as well, too. So let's not forget that.
Right.
And so some words and things were passed back and forth to the point now Ryan is apologizing to RG3 because there was some simmering and some talk that maybe Ryan may lose his gig at ESPN for some of the inflammatory things that he said. To which then Stephen A jumped in there and said, stop the nonsense. I'm going to use all of my influence, whatever influence I have, for Ryan to keep his job. They shouldn't be firing him. Now, he did say some things that were not necessarily, listen, he works for Disney, right? You need to be mindful. Maybe in the barbershop, on his podcast, not that big of a deal. But when you work for Mickey, you need to check yourself and be very mindful of what you say. They ain't hollering that. Anytime you want to question that, go ask Shannon Sharp how that worked out for him, all right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Ain't nothing even been proven. It hadn't even been proven, right? And he's no longer there. So very long intro, but my question, bruh, is, as I said, there's no wrong. This is one of those stories where, in my opinion, where both sides don't necessarily look good. But do you see a winner and loser in this? And if so, who is it? Ryan Clark or Robert Griffin?
I think the winner is ESPN and their podcast. Yeah, absolutely. We're all in this space, and everybody loves to debate topics, and it's all about the ratings. So all of this is show business, bro.
So let me just so I'm clear with this.
Yeah.
So RG is no longer an ESPN. It's just Ryan Clark. So you're saying that the casual viewer is now tuning into ESPN because because his name is being
it has nothing to do with RG3.
Right, his name's being bantered about, so people are going in.
Right, but Ryan Clark is, right? And now Stephen A is jumping in, right? And talking about being fired, and Stephen A has been through his drama, Shannon Sharp and all of that, right? So ESPN is will always be the winner in any of these organizations who's, have these shows on where there's any kind of type of controversy, where two people are fighting, going back and forth, especially when it comes to race, is going to benefit from it. Now, if you're asking, do I think either of them are wrong, RG3 or Ryan Clark, I don't, because it's simply their opinion, right? And I'm not quite sure why people are saying, or ESPN is saying, I don't know if they said you need to watch your mouth or whatever, it's an opinion, right? And that is RG3's opinion. That is Ryan's opinion. They're just stating it. I don't think that either of them did anything wrong except for state their opinion, okay? That's what RG thinks, right? And that's what Ryan thinks, okay? So
do you think that he loses? In this case,
who's he?
In this case, Robert loses any, for lack of a better word, credibility because of his relationship?
No.
Right? Does he therefore now, so the woman he's with now, and then remember he was married to a white woman.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Listen.
So does this somehow, some way kind of remove himself? Should he remove himself from making criticism about black women?
No, not at all. Listen, RG is my guy because I'm a big Washington fan, right? RG was with us when they were the Washington Redskins, right? Now I got my guy JD5 in the house, right? Now RG was the first JD5, first Jaden Daniels, right? He was prolific, great quarterback, only had one great year, and then he went down, But I'm just saying, yeah, he likes white women. Okay. This world, even in 2025, they're so colorblind. And I saw that play, right? And that was a hard foul. That was a hard foul.
Oh, you mean the Caitlyn on?
Yeah, Caitlyn Angel Reese. Right. Yeah. I saw that. I was like, whoa. I said that was crazy. So it is interesting how RG saw that play, because me just looking at it from an unbiased viewer, right? I never look at color. I don't care, black, white, or whatever. You can be married to any race that you want, right? As long as they have a good heart and they have a good soul. There's only a few people that look at that. And I got to say, it's mostly us, right? It's mostly us who have a problem with our own dating outside our race. Not that it doesn't happen in other races, but I feel, it's my opinion, that it happens more in our race when we are dating someone who is not black.
I think you're wrong with that. I'm going to assume.
Oh, I'm definitely not wrong. I'm right.
No, I think the fact that you say that it happens, that you feel like it happens more so within our race than others, I disagree. I think you maybe feel that way because you belong to that affinity group. But I would think about any group that belongs, or any community that belongs to a certain group. It's known for dating their own, or being inside, or being secular and kind of communicating or interacting with their own. I don't think black folks in particular own the exclusive rights on that. Like, if you were of a certain religion, if you're from a certain part of the country, culture in many cases determines that we should be with like-minded folks. So that part I disagree. I think it just feels different for you because you're in that group. And I think we can sometimes, when we belong to a group, that we're in a bubble. My 2 cents.
Well, it doesn't feel like that way. When I say it doesn't feel like that to me personally, because remember, I told you, I don't care. I don't care about color. But when I speak to some black women, I feel a lot of them when you are dating a white woman, whether you're married to them or they're just your girlfriend, women I've spoken to, and I know a lot of women, just girlfriends, black girlfriends or whatever, they don't like it. And they would much rather you date another black woman, one of their peers, versus going outside their race. So when you look at people like RG3 who had white girlfriends and now white wife, and Ryan Clark who has a white baby mama, they don't like that, bro. You know that. They just don't like it, okay? But I do believe what they did, and what RG3 did, whether his wife is white or not, I think he saw the play that he saw. I'm surprised because how I saw that play, like I said, Caitlin Clark was in the wrong. That's how I saw it. And again, I'm not looking at color. So I think both parties have the right to give their take on it. We may not agree with either or of their takes, but it is what it is. I don't think anyone should be getting in trouble or anyone should be losing a show or being fired from a position at ESPN or wherever they're working simply because of giving their opinion. This is why I'm saying, like, this whole media landscape, like people getting in trouble for their opinions, it doesn't make sense to me. And I just think it needs to stop. It really doesn't. It's really frustrating, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, that's valid, Jay. That's certainly valid perspective. The last thing I would just say in this, I don't think just because of RG3's relationship that he now should have a gag order from speaking about some, you know what I mean, about black women. It has nothing to do with anything. I like Ryan Clark, and I like the Ryan Clark podcast version, right? I think Chan and Fred and Ryan have a great podcast. So I enjoy seeing that more so than I do his version of Ryan on ESPN. Right. And I like that. I was a little bit, I think I was a little bit surprised that Ryan came for RG3 like that from that comment. But, you know, does he really feel that way? I don't know. I mean, hell, if people are pulling out the fact that Ryan's got a white BM, well, I'm sure Ryan knows that, right? You know what I'm saying, right? You know what I mean? Right. So it's kind of like, well,
and that's just a BM,
right? And so I'm like, maybe was that just kind of hot take, clickbait kind of stuff he was trying to create? Because he did make a comment. At least there was a quote in the article, assuming that it was true, that he didn't even know it was a story. Right? Like, you know, people will take that snippet and they blew it up and it kind of caught him off guard, is my understanding, too. So it was like, whoa. So, you know, it's just saying a whole bunch of things and then that someone extrapolated that one line out. So it wasn't really a thing to him, at least according to what he was saying. So it's just interesting. I just thought, you know, I always find it interesting where you see these athletes kind of go at each other, where you think it's kind of more they belong to this fraternity. Marcellus Wiley, he and Ryan Clark were also going at it, right? You know, it's saying Ryan could be a little bit spicy, you know what I mean? And so he and Marcellus were kind of going back and forth, and it was supposedly going to throw hands and all this other. Marcellus is like, that ain't me, bro. Right. Like I'm not that, right? So I hope these guys get this whole thing worked out. They both put out great content, good shows. I follow them. I enjoy this, and I don't want to see these guys fight.
And it all works out. Like I was saying, in terms of the media landscape, it all works out for them. All publicity, even any publicity, whether it's negative or not, it's positive publicity, because they could not be talking about RG3 anymore because he's not the superstar player he was once before, and they could not be talking about Ryan Clark. So at least they're talking about them, and it's going to help both of their podcasts, shows, whatever they're doing in the media landscape. It just works for everybody. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't all planned. Anytime anybody goes up and there's negativity, when LeBron and Stephen A was going about it, what did it do for Stephen A's podcast and ESPN show? The ratings through the roof. It's all about ratings, right? It's all about the money. So it is what it is. We'll see how it works out. So, listen, I thought one of the funniest stories I saw this week was just, I went, this is a little smelly.
Oh, okay.
This story is a little smelly here.
A smelly story, okay.
It's a little smelly story. Or it could be smelly.
Go ahead.
Could smell bad or could smell good.
All right. Speak on it.
So, going through the stories this week, and I saw a very interesting story. You know Gwyneth Paltrow, the big-time actress, right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these actresses and actors, they're very successful in their careers, and being so successful, they're given the opportunities to do pretty much anything else they want to do, right? You see a lot of these celebrities, they get their own clothing line, their own sneaker line, you know, makeup, all this kind of things. They also get the opportunities to make their own fragrance. So Gwyneth Paltrow recently was given one of these very opportunities to have her own fragrance.
Okay.
Very interesting. And I'm sure you have some great colognes, and you probably brought your women some great fragrances in the past, right? That they could put on and smell all nice and flowery and flory and fresh scent and all that good stuff, right? I'm sure you've done that. I've done that as well, right?
Who doesn't like a good perfume, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're a good man, and I'm sure you've done that, and as I've done for my women in the past.
Yep.
So, and I'm sure you probably went to the stores and smelled it. Well, Gwyneth Paltrow got the opportunity to make her own fragrance, and she picked a very interesting fragrance or a scent to make her fragrance smell like. You know what that fragrance or that scent is that she wants her own fragrance to smell like?
What's that?
She wants the scent to smell like her vagina. Like her vagina. And I said to myself, that's quite interesting. Do women really want to wear a scent that smells like Gwyneth's vagina? Do they really want a scent that smells like their own vagina? I don't know. So I found this very interesting because I've never heard anything like this before. So people was going for her online, right? Going for her online. And Gwyneth clapped back at them. And she said, if you don't like my new scent, go fuck yourself. I thought that was quite interesting and quite bold of her. So I guess I say that to say, Kay, because I want to know, if you was buying a new fragrance for your woman, would you go out and buy her a scent that smells like Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina?
Wow. You know what, Gwyneth? I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't mad at that. Listen, listen, I feel like I'm about to have a Diddy moment here, man. But
Oh no.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Here goes the end of our show.
But I'm just, listen, I ain't gonna hold her. A little bit of little pungent puss scent. Listen, and also here's the thing, man. When, like, what part of the day? What is that? Because like if the bottle contains the scent of
After workout,
just went to the gym, you knew I was going, fam. Just coming back from the gym, you may have worked up a little bit of that mayo down there. I'm just saying that, Gwen, send me a case of that shit, B.
Oh, like, you nasty, dirty little something.
Okay, guilty as charged. But I'm just saying, like, here's the thing. I don't know the application for it. Like, I don't know if, as a woman, you would take that and put a couple of spritz on the inside of your wrist and two behind your ear. I almost feel like dudes would be buying the
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, spray, you know what I mean? Like, all of these guys is doing a little bit of hand jive. Now you got one hand on your member and the other hand with, like, you know, with the scent on a handkerchief or something, right? You know what I mean? Like that, like, the possibilities are endless, bro. But I ain't mad at this. I think from a business standpoint, this is amazing. I love the idea of this. Why did someone not think of this even sooner? I love the idea of it. It is so untraditional. It's so different than what we typically see. And on low key, or maybe not so low key, I want to see what a puss smells like. I really do. I want to see what Iron Man's wife's puss smells like. People been saying for years, "Oh, you're so Gwyneth." Now they can be. That's what I got.
I mean, but to your point, you're right. First of all, I'm wondering, how would they make this smell like Gwyneth's vagina? Like, is she going to get the juices out of her vagina versus, like you said, after a workout, or after she came right out the shower and she's spraying some nice flowery feminine hygiene spray down there and it smells great? Like, how would they make this smell like her vagina? And to your point, what does her vagina smell like 24/7? It changes. So maybe they have a couple different versions of her vagina scent.
I know. I'm waiting for version 2, 3, all of them.
And maybe she should have made it a cologne, because to your point again, I think more men would buy it than women. Ain't no woman want to smell like Gwyneth's vagina. They don't even want to smell like their vagina. I mean,
that's the only thing. The only thing to your point I would question is maybe the marketing for it, right? Like they might be going after the wrong demo.
Well, so the latest news I heard is that it is no longer on the shelves. It isn't a shame. You were too late, bro. You were too late. But maybe there's a petition that's going around that maybe we could start a petition to maybe get it back. I don't know. But it's very, very interesting how she even came up with that concept and how she told people to go fuck themselves if they don't like her scent. It is very interesting, but I don't see how women would love that scent.
I wish if you really wanted to say something classic, she would have said, "Go fuck yourself with my scent." Yeah,
exactly. Right. And some guys are probably going to end up doing that.
Oh, man. How's that for a tagline?
Exactly.
Right?
Go fuck yourself.
Unreal. Gwyneth, bring it back.
It is. Listen, it's very unique of her. It's very creative of her. And I hope it does come back, because she did something very bold. And I think you should stand up for what you think is right and what you think that will sell, even though you're getting a lot of backlash from the public.
Even though.
Well, we'll see how it goes in the future. Good luck to you, Gwyneth. Good luck.
All right, let's wrap it up. Man.
All right, man. So we have coming up.
That's it.
Well, that's it. So it's perfect. So listen, it is what it is. So listen, we got a lot of stories going on this week. It was a lot of fun, and we wish everybody the best in the next coming week. Of course, I am your host, J. Rob, my brother K in the house. All right, we'll see you next week on the J and K Show. Until next time, be safe and be good, y'all. Peace. We out. Thanks for watching the J and K Show.